Dobbins Air Reserve Base. History. World War II, Min-2, originally intended by Cobb County, Georgia, as an alternative airfield for Atlanta's Candler Field. This airfield was constructed in 1941 as Rickenbacker Field. This was named for the former U.S. Army Air Corps top flying ace of World War I, Captain Eddie Rickenbacker. The push to build this airport came in 1940 when President Franklin D. Roosevelt selected General Lucius D. Clay of the Army Air Corps to be the chief of the new Civil Aeronautics Administration CAA, which was engaged in a huge program of airfield construction. About 450 to 500 of these were built in preparation for any possible war against the United States from the east, Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy, or from the west, the Empire of Japan. In 1940, the CAA offered to build a modern paved airport in Cobb County if the local governments provided the land. Due to the potential labor force for defense factories in this area, local officials also hoped to attract a large aircraft factory adjacent to the site. On October 24, the government of Cobb County announced the existence of this airport project, and it also revealed that purchase options had been signed for 3 prospective sites. The Atlanta City Council also passed a resolution endorsing this project on January 2, 1941. Since the Army Air Corps had recently taken over part of Candler Field, now Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the principal municipal airport for Atlanta, the new airport in Cobb County was also seen as a reliever airport for Atlanta. In May, the local government issued bonds to purchase 563 acres, 2.28 km2, located 3+1/2 miles southeast of Marietta along the western side of the new 4-lane superhighway, US Highway 41, linking Marietta with Atlanta. The CAA next allocated $400,000 for construction of 2 4,000-foot 1,200 long runways on the land. The W.L. Florence Company of Powder Springs, Georgia, the low bidder with a bid of $290,000, won the contract. This bid, well below the estimated cost of $400,000, allowed the CAA to add the 3rd runway to this construction project. The construction began on 14 July 1941. In the next month, the Gulf Oil Corporation and Georgia Air Services agreed to lease the airport, once completed, for $12,000 per year. In September 1941, Eddie Rickenbacker, America's leading flying ace of World War I, and then the president and general manager of Eastern Airlines, agreed to have this airport named Rickenbacker Field in his honor. In the same month, the U.S. Navy requested permission to use this airport for the flight training of naval aviators. The Navy had established the Naval Aviation Reserve Base Atlanta at what is now the DeKalb Peachtree Airport in March 1941. In October, Georgia Air Services signed a $70,000 contract for 2 164 airplane hangars to be built. Although it was far from completion, the dedication of this airfield took place in October 1941. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, work on this new airfield accelerated rapidly. In January 1942, Lawrence Dale Bell, the founder and president of the Bell Aircraft Company, inspected this site for a proposed government-financed airplane factory for the Department of War. Meanwhile, the Department of the Navy announced its intention to take over the new airfield as an auxiliary naval air station. The Navy shortly began land condemnation proceedings. The Department of War, in turn, announced that it would not contest the wish of the Department of the Navy to take over Rickenbacker Field and that it would build its new factory elsewhere. The Cobb County government appealed to the Secretary of the Navy, Frank Knox, urging him to change the Navy's plans. Since other options were available for flight training, Secretary Knox relinquished the Navy's claim on this airfield and left it to the Army Air Forces. During World War II, the Navy established an auxiliary naval air station at Gainesville, Georgia, just northeast of Atlanta. On January 23, 1942, the Bell Aircraft Company, and the Department of War announced that an aircraft factory employing up to 40,000 workers would be built near Marietta. Also, the Department of War announced on February 19 that Rickenbacker Field would be renamed the Marietta Army Airfield. Although its construction began in March 1942, its official groundbreaking ceremony took place in May 1942, with Captain Rickenbacker present. Rickenbacker went on to establish and pay for an aviation educational program to train workers for both civil aviation and military aviation. Also in 1942, the city of Atlanta began work on its contribution, a pipeline to supply the new factory with water from the Chattahoochee River. In addition to taking over Rickenbacker Field, the United States Army Air Force's USAF purchased a parcel of land just north of the airfield for a cantonment area. The Marietta Army Airfield was activated on June 6, 1943, with its personnel housed in tents as part of the 58th Bombardment Operational Training Wing. At the end of June 1943, there were 42 officers and 356 enlisted men stationed here. The mission of the Marietta Army Airfield was acceptance testing of B-29 Superfortress heavy bombers for the USAF, the modification of B-29s, and the operation of an Army air depot. Barracks for the soldiers reached completion in November 1943. By January 1, 1944, the number of soldiers stationed here had risen to 73 officers and 1,263 enlisted men. For a period of time, the Marietta Army Airfield was assigned to the USAF's 2nd Air Force under the Roman 20 Bomber Command. On 12 April 1944, the Marietta Army Airfield was reassigned to the 17th Bombardment Operation Training Unit. In the spring of 1943, the adjacent Bell Aircraft Company's factory, an additional plant, besides a pair of Boeing plants Renton, Washington, and Wichita, Kansas former Stearman Aircraft, and a Martin plant at Offutt Field, Omaha, Nebraska for manufacturing B-29 Superfortresses was completed. The Defense Plant Corporation of the Department of War paid for the construction of this factory, and the department called it Plant #6. Bell Aircraft completed its first B-29 on schedule, and this was first test flown on November 4, 1943. The production of B-29s at this factory increased slowly during 1944, and by the fall of 1944, Bell Aircraft's output of new B-29s began to meet and exceed the goals of the Department of War. By January 1945, Bell Aircraft had completed 357 B-29As. After the completion of the last one of these, the production in Marietta was switched to the B-29B Superfortress, which was a simplified version of the B-29 without the computerized gun system and other components that raised the allowable bomb load from 11,000 to 18,000 pounds. The new B-29B radar, mounted in a wing-shaped radome under the fuselage, gave much better images of the ground. The 315th Bombardment Wing based at Northwest Field, Guam, received most of the B-29Bs for night low-altitude Pathfinder-led missions against Japan. Bell built a total of 311 B-29Bs before the plant closed in January 1946. At its height, the Bell bomber plant employed 28,263. Post-war, current and future. Major commands to which assigned. Major units assigned. Based units. Flying and notable non-flying units based at Dobbins Air Reserve Base.